We continue with the Feer Fiesta after the first stage of round one over. Atto advancing to the top four. Now we have Chronic versus Toxic. Chat, here we go. The Feer Fiesta continues. You might be wondering, why is Vatira not here playing against Chronic? Because originally the plan was to have Chronic against Vatira, but this has all been scheduled in the last 24 hours. And so the reality is there's a bit of a mix-up. Vatira actually could not play at this time frame. Toxic very graciously accepted a switch with Vatira to allow him to play later in a different part of the bracket. And now Toxic has earned himself probably a bit tougher opponents. Now facing Chronic and potentially Rawas, as opposed to Rise and Nas, which is what the other set of the bracket that he switched off from was. But it's winner take all here in the Feer Fiesta. So it doesn't matter. You're going to have to beat everybody on your way to winning it all. Or you're going to have to never lose, that is. And it's all about good fun in the Feer Fiesta. And Toxic is all about that. Vatira versus Rise is also a nice matchup. Yeah, Chronic is still in EU alongside his teammate, apparently Jack, who actually played before this. I wanted to make sure the North Americans got at least one matchup against a European. And that's why the semifinals are also going to be shuffled if necessary to make sure that we get matchups from cross-region, because that's the real hope from the Fear Fiesta. So Chronic getting his chance to fight for North America here against EU, against Toxic. I think Toxic probably comes in as the favorite in this matchup. Chronic, still a very solid 1v1er. And when he's on his form, should be able to take down the likes of a Toxic. The other North Americans we have playing are Yan. Yan plays later against Jorias. So technically you could say that's a South American. I guess you could also argue that apparently Jack is a European, despite me referring to him as a North American. Toxic. He is a... Oh my goodness, what's going on with this camera? As he tries to check to see if he can get this save. Toxic is a player who I think has, you know, a fairly high floor. Not sure if his results would match that, but I always feel like you can get a good result out of Toxic. In times he's struggled to pull all the way to the very top of EU. He's had some results certainly keep him there in the top 5. I have to think a little bit harder about who joins him in the top 5 of EU. Chronic getting some goals on the board as chat shifts slightly in favor of Toxic, I imagine. I just ended submissions on the prediction. Does Nas play today? Yes, all of stage 1 is played today. You can type ! bracket if you want to see all the games we're going to have. Right now, the winner of Chronic Toxic will play against Rawas after this. Followed up by Yan and Jorias. Winner plays Moxie. Followed up by Rise Vatira. Winner plays Nas. I have them all remembered in my head. Toxic re-extending the lead, making it 6-3. Chronic on 0 boost, waiting for Toxic to back off. As he tried to start a possession with a big flick. Is going to lead to Toxic with control now. Talking about big flicks. Chronic is playing against somebody with the best of them. Ooh, nice outplay. Doesn't have to be crazy. If somebody's going to try and backflip challenge, all you need to do, cut the ball around them. Chronic within 2. Toxic's going to pinch this one away. It's on target, and it's in. Toxic pushes the lead out again off of the back of a nice pinch. 5 boosts to work with to set that one up, and it's a no bouncer. It's a no bouncer all the way to the net. Toxic slight delay on the kickoff. Makes it 8-4, and he seems like he is in a flow state right now. Just the way he approached that kickoff seemed very laissez-faire, and yet it still worked out. Why are NA players always so horrible at ones? I don't think that's the case. Chronic. This is where he feels at home. When he has taken wall-to-air dribbles off kickoff wins. We've talked about it 1,000 times before, but that's where he is able to farm goals. Great at reading defenders, too, in order to beat them out. Problem is, you have to win kickoffs to get to that position. Toxic, not a guy that's going to let you get away with those very often. A demo, and Chronic back within 2. Now, every time Chronic's done this before, Toxic peels away again. Chronic getting undercuts, and there's the goal I all but promised you based on the way this game has been going. Chronic can't really set up his wall to air dribble from here, so he'll chip it, and he'll go for an air dribble bump, set up the ball too high. Nice catch, though, and actually slots it in. Toxic had a solid recovery, but it wasn't enough to get back in time. Chronic, low 50, side flip for an 8th goal, 8-9 with 1:23 left to go. This has just been a kickoff fiesta, one might say. Toxic pre-flipping into the corner as, or so to say, Chronic pre-flipping into the corner as Toxic makes a play on the ball. Now it's Chronic full field. Toxic is not going to allow him to do so. That's probably a good call. Chronic with boost. He's going to check to see. Toxic is leaving, so he is going to be allowed to go to an air dribble. Toxic pulling off of his pre-jump, and Chronic brings it all the way back. He has been clawing at Toxic for 4 straight minutes in an attempt to even up the series or even up the game. He's finally done it. Toxic slightly delaying his single jump to wave dash kickoff. And now he's just seeing how many times Chronic will reverse back and forth as the ball bounces. Chronic is timing, his acceleration with the bounce every time in preparation for the dribble starting, but it never does start. Now Toxic, the benefit of playing this possession so slow is that it does waste a bit of time as well. But what am I talking about? Just about every single goal the entire game so far has gone in less than 30 seconds. So these guys should feel comfortable. Chronic forced to make the save in front of the net, unable to grab any boost to work with. He has 100 now, and he tries to backflip challenge. Because what else can he do with 20 seconds left to go? And it's 11-9. I would say it's over, but there's got to be at least a handful of goals that have gone in under 8 seconds during this match. Flick from Chronic. Toxic looking to kill it on the goal line, and there it is, your 8-second goal. So now we have another 8-second potential goal. What will Toxic do on a slight offset kickoff? It is a wave dash kickoff for Chronic. We shouldn't even be surprised. We shouldn't even be surprised, right? Like, I shouldn't even act like this is anything crazy. Every single goal has come. In fact, it's not even over. I don't expect to see overtime. Who is going to win this kickoff goal? It looks like it's going to be Toxic. Toxic flick? Yes, of course. Oh, no, it's crossbar down. It's crossbar down. So the 11-11 game 1 overtime. How many seconds do you think we'll have to wait for the goal? I'm appalled that we've already had to wait 8 seconds and it's not in yet. Chronic slots it top right. And just like everybody thought, the 12-11 game 1 start with the Chronic victory over Toxiic. It's textbook 1v1 behavior. Chronic never giving up, playing from behind basically the entire game, but he will win a 12-11 game. Ugh. Well, we continue with what has been a kickoff spree. Not once has anybody stopped a possession earned off the kickoff. Toxic's going to be the first one to get a shot attempt here. Over or under 10 goals, 12 goals. What would be a good line to set that we expect for game 2? Over or under 13 goals. We got it. It's got to be under, right? I expect a swing right back the other way because we're already 30 seconds in and nobody has scored yet. Toxiic has a decent chance here, but couldn't get the angle in time. Chronic's shot saved. All of a sudden, the defense seems impenetrable. Oh my goodness, a pinch too high. We are a minute in without a goal, folks. I know I called it 5 seconds early. I could be wrong, but I do expect Toxiic to get this save. Toxiic with Chronic in nets. Oh, nice. Half flip flick. Very delayed in order to make it tough for Chronic to read. 180, and right as he hits the ground, too, just launching it. A minute and 8 seconds for a goal. Truly unprecedented. Chronic trying to dive around to be relevant in this play, but ultimately forced to leave. Toxiic expecting Chronic to flash across the net, I imagine, in order to make a save. So he actually just shot it right where Chronic already was. Because Chronic stayed patient, he got the ball sent right into him. Now, didn't stay patient in the following play. Toxiic able to drop it down. Chronic with one of his first opportunities of this game. He's going to go back to old reliable, and it doesn't work. It's off the post and outs. Now Chronic from the corner. Toxiic scrounging for pads best he can, and so beautiful. Chronic is automatic in these wall-to-air dribbles, even when they start from the corner. Look at the control on the flick, too. Making sure to cancel it so that it doesn't overshoot the ball. Instead, it drops it right onto the crossbar and in. Toxiic with the camera check. See what Chronic's doing behind the ball. High pinch. I think Chronic doesn't really expect Toxiic to be able to get anything too dangerous off of a ball that is falling to the ground that quickly. So he just backs off and expects to be given the ball, which he actually was, and then able to control the possession for an eventual goal. Chronic. Flick to the double jump. Chronic maybe could have played that onto the ceiling instead of going for the reset if he had read Toxic's pre-jump. Toxiic bumping Chronic. Is it going to be enough? It is. Pushed him up the side wall and stole his boost. Toxiic wall dashing. Chronic pinching this around the orange nets. Able to regain control in the back corner. He doesn't like his setup, though. Is Toxiic going to allow him to get a new one? He is. Toxiic does not dive. It's Old Faithful again. Chronic's had a tough time with Old Faithful today. This time too high. Chronic, what a save! Oh my goodness, Chronic. The patience. The soft save off the crossbar so that he can control the next play instead of giving the ball back to Toxiic, and it was as close as it gets. I cannot believe it. Chronic, stone cold nerves as he catches the ball before the final pixel goes in. Toxiic double jump to launch the ball. We have the 3-2 scoreline that somebody predicted in chat after our 12-11 game one. Great coverage by Toxiic. Really tough position to be able to fall from the back wall and get a favorable 50, and he did. So now he's going to be in a tough spot. Chronic with 100 boost. Attacking a late recovering Toxiic. He's playing the dribble really quickly. Actually launched it right at Toxiic. Forced a little bit of boost at him, but now can he find a way to score? Reset, playing it slow. If he puts a bunch of speed on the shot, he might allow Toxiic to fully clear the ball. So it seems like he's maybe instead looking to get a slow speed outplay, which means even if Toxiic does get a save, it's probably going to stay his possession. Air dribble bump, or not quite air dribble bump, but a ground bump as the wave dash catch turns into a demo. Chronic has had ice in his veins in both these games. He needed the goal within 8 seconds, I believe it was last time. Or maybe 16 seconds and he got it. This time he scores with 13 seconds to tie it. It's a wave dash kickoff and it is on target enough that he can pinch it in. 4-3 lead for Chronic now. 9 seconds. Delay from Chronic. Both double delay! Toxiic delayed more. Can Chronic keep it from scoring? This is not the best spot in the world for him, but Toxiic is up, and I don't know what Toxic's plan is if he's up. I guess he just wanted to beat Chronic to the ball. I thought Chronic wasn't going to go. But Chronic will BRB as he's up 2-0 in the series. Game 3. Chronic, a couple close victories. I was wondering if we're going to see Octane Toxiic. We are not. Toxiic into, I believe, just a different Fennec in his attempt to close out a game against Chronic. He's certainly not in that tough of a spot. Sure, 2-0, or 0-2, I should say. Seems like he's been getting outplayed, but I think anybody watching the series know that this has been a dead even race that Chronic has just been able to inch out in the final moments. Chronic. Saucy with the air dribble as he gets one touch after the reset into the flick. Thank you for the explanation, by the way. Toxiic. Air dribble bump. Make it 2-1. We got 3 goals. And we are 28 seconds in. Chronic. Ball to air dribble. Reset to Musty again? Toxiic says, I've seen this before. I know what happens when you do this dribble. I'm going to stay high this time, and I'm going to go back to Old Faithful. Chronic able to get the save. Chronic almost read Toxic's touch off the back wall. Got a bit ahead of himself. Chronic passed to himself off of his back wall. Was hoping to get this 100 boost as well, I imagine, but doesn't connect. Sees an opportunity to pinch. He knows Toxiic is going to go take his back corner boost. So his best play is to play the ball. He's got an opportunity to tie the game. Toxic thought he was doing well to launch the ball into the corner where he could maybe look to delay Chronic's attack, but I think the only problem was the double jump that he followed it up with. It's a very interesting play to make in his own corner, using up both his jump and his flip to launch himself in the air. He was trying to just win a pinch 50, I guess, but instead it results in a Chronic goal. Game has slowed down a bit since the start. Toxic did not get the touch he was maybe hoping for. As Chronic sets up at the midfield, having to swing around the ball to start his dribble gives Toxic time to rejoin the play after grabbing his back corner boost. Toxic, his air dribble bumps have been effective. Chronic knows they're coming now, though, and gets up over the top of him and is able to take the lead. Toxic becoming a little bit too one-dimensional with the double jump bump. Toxic kickoff win will tie it right back up. Fake kickoff from Toxic. It works well to get him a possession. Chronic thinking about the backflip challenge, but Toxic very willing to bring the pace to a crawl as he takes a snail dribble towards Chronic's net. Chronic forced to back off. What an interesting wave dash. The midfield boost will not spawn for him, though. Seemed like he was maybe taking his sweet time in hopes that it would. Toxic 50'd. Chronic can stick with this one. He needs a double, but Toxic should be able to get back. No, he cannot. Chronic sees his opportunity to float with the ball. Toxic tries to go back down to the ground and up to make the save, but I actually think Toxic did get a touch. That went in with Orange Trail, but it went in all the same. Chronic in his back corner this time cannot get over Toxic's main form of attack. It's still been more effective more often than not, so Toxic is going to stick with it. Chronic reset catch was looking to squeeze it into the opposite corner, but not able to. Toxic backing off. Chronic's probably going to give him a taste of his own medicine, I imagine, with the speedy dribble. What a save from Toxic. Able to slip out from behind and demo Chronic. It's 4-4 with a minute left to go. Toxic, he is the one with all the pressure here with a 2-0 lead for Chronic, and Chronic launches a midfield flick. Toxic, only the player you'd expect to be seeing dicing someone up with flicks, but it's a reversal of roles. Minute left to go. Toxic tries to cut underneath the ball and have his single jump place the shot, but not able to get it on target. Chronic just passed the ball to Toxic to tie the game. And that is something that happens fairly frequently when you predominantly attack through the air. You cannot miss off the backboard. It's Joe Boy. Thank you for the Prime, by the way. 2 months of Prime. Toxic, can he convert on this goal? He should be able to. Chronic dove. They both had boost to work with, and Chronic thought he could maybe surprise Toxic, because normally I don't think you expect to see someone diving all the way to the back wall. So he thought Toxic would be playing it patient and looking to catch for a dribble, which Toxic has done a ton so far this series, but Toxic read the challenge and pops it early. Air dribble bump for Chronic, and it ties it right back up. In every single game, Chronic has retied the game from down with less than 20 seconds to go. This has been a masterclass in clutch from Chronic. Can he do it again? He has to take the lead in either overtime or the next 8 seconds. Chronic. Wall to air dribble. Has a chance here. Toxiic is going to slam it to the ground. I shouldn't say slam it. Does cut off Chronic and lets it fall to the ground. So it'll be overtime again. Wave dash kickoff for Toxiic. Ball into the orange half. Far enough that Chronic doesn't feel like he can go in, but he does read the long shot soon enough. He's able to cover it into his own corner. Now another air dribble from him. Toxiic pre-jumping early. Chronic's going to try and sneak underneath, but Toxiic just barely pinches it away. No boost left for him. Looks like he wants to stay involved in the play. Chronic is keen on getting possession with a huge boost advantage. He didn't use a ton of boost like he could to maybe go get the ball high where Toxiic couldn't reach. He specifically wanted possession with the advantage, and he got it. Toxiic backs off all the way to the corner and gets himself hit by Ol Reliable to end the series. 7-6. Chronic, the king of clutch, in the 3-0 sweep to earn a ticket to play Roas.